Hello, Rachel.
Hi, Ryan.
How are you doing?
It doesn't feel real. Like, does this feel real to you yet?
Hell yeah. This is so real. This is as real as can be because I've been looking forward to this day for a very long time. Because it's that sense of accomplishment and achievement. But what are we talking about, Rachel? Why are we so confounded yet congratulatory?
Because this, hopefully, is our final episode dedicated to Star Trek Discovery. We are finally fucking here. We have watched every single episode of Star Trek Discovery twice. Did we rewatch the short tracks as well?
They were first-time experiences because we didn't know they existed.
Yeah.
We didn't know they existed.
Okay.
And that was for the pod. It was like the first time thing.
I wanted to clarify. Thought that it was that. And we have spent hundreds of hours discussing Star Trek Discovery on mic and even more off mic.
I haven't done the maths, but I do wonder if it's been hundreds of hours. It must be, because this will be like episode 70-something, and every episode of ours tends to be an hour plus, so yeah, it would roughly, if you duplicate things, maybe, I'm not too sure, maybe we've at least hit 100 hours worth of discussion, but the most important thing is we have rewatched, reviewed, and done it all for Star Trek Discovery. It has ended, and now we are here today to do our series recap, where we take the time to discuss, to reflect, to look back on the show and our overall experiences podcasting through Star Trek Discovery. And I have a special little treat for us, straight off the top. So, Rachel, the show started itself back in the good old year of 2017. Remember that time?
Mm-hmm.
Nightmare Land it was. Especially you can tell from that first season.
Trump's first presidency.
And it was in the DNA of the show. Bryan Fuller was originally supposed to be showrunning this. He was a writer for Star Trek previously, on Voyager in particular. He has run many shows. The thing is, he runs so many shows because he never finishes shows. They often get cancelled or he leaves. This was a case where he left before it even began. I wanted to just give a bit of a background there because it was messy before it even came out.
Mm-hmm.
It was going to be an anthology show following the first officers or secondary characters of each given little period, and we kind of see how some of that bled through into the final product. But what I really want to spend time on right now is the IMDb summary of Star Trek Discovery itself.
Oh, that's an excellent point.
10 years before Kirk and Spock and the Enterprise, the USS Discovery discovers new worlds and life forms as one Starfleet officer learns to understand all things alien. I want to get your professional opinion as one of the two people on this planet who have rewatched Star Trek Discovery, me being the other. How accurate was that description to
it was
what the
accurate
series
to the
is?
Start of the series, not to the whole of it.
I disagree. I don't think it's accurate at all. Discovers all things alien.
No,
Come on. She was a xenoanthropologist. She already knew all things alien. She grew up on an alien planet, for fuck's sake. She already got it. That's the problem. Michael already got it from the start. But let's just go over our general thoughts on the series. Rachel, how about you let us know, since I'm sure everyone's going to be quite shocked at what you're going to say.
It was fucking shit. It's hard to think of any genuine positives anymore when it comes to Discovery. Like, I remember that there were points that we were like, yeah, that was pretty good. Or, you know what, that was genuinely good. I don't fucking remember any of them anymore. Which makes me kind of sad. But it was never for us. We could never figure out who it was for, but we knew that it wasn't for us.
It was many things at many times. Was any of it for you? Did any of it at any point, any era, any sliver of it
No, even
land?
the bits that you would comment, like, you watch stuff like this in other contexts and you enjoy it, and I'm like, but I don't here.
My overall thoughts on the show is it's a mess. But I think it's a fascinating mess because...
Thus we kept potting.
Oh, yeah. Like, would you agree? It is interesting how much this show kept making the same mistakes, but also profoundly new mistakes. Like, it was often mistakes, but also just the behind the scenes of it. They went through like 5 showrunners within 3 seasons. Like, they just had a lot of adversities, and yet they also were the flagship show for the new era of Star Trek. And say what we will, we have gotten a lot of Star Trek thanks to stuff like Discovery. We got Strange New Worlds, and that brought this and this and this, and we got good and bad stuff. But like, we are in an age where Star Trek is back, and Discovery was the domino piece that first fell.
I do 100% agree that it is interesting in the way that it is bad. And like, I know that there were parts that I enjoy, but it is just overshadowed by the amount of slop, and we had way more fun making fun of it being dumb than I think we ever did genuinely enjoying moments.
I would like to clarify, I think we had a lot more fun, and fun can be in the terms of what you want to describe it as, but fun for me with Discovery was like trying to grapple with its actual intent and themes and messages. And I think the most fun with that stuff was when they were earnestly trying to do something, say something, mean something, which, as we've talked about, especially recently with the 5th season and basically season 4 as well, they gave up on.
Mm.
You look back on those first seasons and there's so much there. So much commentary to be made. I don't like the mentioning Trump's first year in presidency. Like, you feel it in the show, and you feel it because they have things to say about it, things they want to use the science fiction landscape to examine, to talk about this nationalistic panic, this tiptoe into fascism and totalitarianism. But that desire goes away, so the fun we had also goes away.
She is integral to our future plans, a future where we together will make the Empire glorious again.
We're being negative, we're being hyperbolic in some ways. There were things that worked in the show, and I want to talk about some of our favorite moments. We can talk about that in terms of the favorite moments in a genuine sense or in the ironic sense. But I would love to know, what were some of your favorite moments in Star Trek Discovery?
One that I came... the first one that I noted down was Harry Mudd's little robot buddy.
I loved his little, it was like a little robot bug thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, like it was a literal, like, bug-shaped robot that ran around and did his bidding. And it was just it was a neat idea. It was effective. It helped the plot. It was a neat design.
He is a bug of a man.
I couldn't come up with a genuine one for season 2. I could only think of stupid ones.
What? Season 2 is the highest point of Discovery. Pike.
I know.
Pike.
Yeah, but I couldn't think of like a really specific moment with Pike. Like him showing up is great. Him, the duologue that he has with Michael about like responsibility and duty and all of those kinds of things is a really good moment.
Nothing else for season 2 of a genuine sense, more some ironic ones at least, or no?
Well, do we want to stick going season by season or by type? Because I have a best of the worst section too.
No, go by types, because I chose just a handful of favorite moments myself.
Yeah, I was trying to challenge myself to find more good ones. This one I kind of feel weird about saying, but I did enjoy it. It did sort of make me happy in a way. And that is us encountering Navarre as a planet. That the Romulans and the Vulcans are sort of still on the path of unification.
Yeah, they haven't fully sorted it. There's still some friction between them.
Yeah,
but it's not to like
they're
such
working
a comical
together.
degree.
Yeah, seeing Michael's reaction to it being Navarre, it's no longer Vulcan.
Then they put her on a logic trial, which sounds interesting, but then it isn't.
Yeah. Season 4 is just so messy.
Baby bones, Rachel. That was my favorite moment of season 4, was when they got high off of children's bones. And Hugh, the doctor, the empathetic, caring guy that he is the most thrilled about being high off baby bones. I thought that was awesome. I thought that was like some of the greatest writing. I mean, in all fairness, though, in all seriousness, season 4 is such a dour low point, but there is some great stuff with Taka. Like his whole
like
thing is really well
moment,
handled. But
moments in the flashback episode when they're going and getting like the crystal from his cell. I think that's like my contender for season 4.
When it comes to like season 4 as well, another thing that I thought was not a favorite moment per se, but it was like a concept that I didn't mind, was that the antagonistic force was just an alien beyond our comprehension, and they did not even recognize us because we're basically ants to them. Like, that is a great idea. And despite how they executed it, it is one of my favorite things that Discovery did, like, at least tackle. It was
interesting, at least.
There were other things about it that didn't make it interesting, but they gave it a shot, and it's one of those things where it's like a lot of these things are like, oh, Discovery, they had something there.
We always praised its ideas. And then for this season, this latest season, season 5. Oh, I can't remember the specific line, but in Janal, there is a really great line from Hugh, like the way that he delivers it with like
as Janal.
Yes, it when Janal is commenting about how buff Hugh is.
Man, this guy really works out.
Yeah,
I liked his red herring line. don't even understand. Herrings aren't even red. It's like, well,
that's the point.
I see. Saru's character development into him becoming the captain of the ship was really well done in those first 3 seasons. Like, you could track it. I particularly enjoyed, one of my favorite things of his was talking to the ship's computer, trying to get advice. This was before it became Zora as well. And realizing that he needed to step out of that tendency, that dependency. He needed to become more than just academic, but he needed to become experienced. And that also bleeds into one of my other favorite moments was the saloon episode in season 3, where he tries to do things by diplomacy and it doesn't work. Now, I'm not a fan of the solution being Zhou Zhao just kicks ass, but I like seeing Saru be thrown into a situation where his by-the-book ethical ways do not cut the mustard. But my favorite moment of Discovery in its totality is a small detail, but it is funny, but it is something that they put thought into, which is Lorca eats seafood because he is trying to replicate being able to eat kelpians. We see him do that throughout the season, and it's just like a kooky touch of his that you don't think about. And we didn't even notice it until we did our rewatch of it. And I've mentioned that detail to people who are diehard fans of Discovery, or people who are indifferent, or people who hate it. And across the board, most people don't even recognize that that was a thing that was done. And then when told that it is a thing that was done, appreciate, like, okay, that's a cool thing. And I struggle with the fact that we have revisited every episode of Discovery, and I say this with complete sincerity in my heart. I think that's like the only thing that you could catch on a rewatch, because the rest of it is so telegraphed. The rest of it is so in your face. Like, even the Lorca being a Mirror Universe captain, it's so obvious that he's evil, that he's wrong, that he's a spooky, mysterious man with his fucked up eyes. But that little touch right there is what I want more out of when they say, we're going to do Star Trek in the modern prestige, serialized continuity way. It's what we loved about rewatching Babylon 5, or even when you and I were covering Space Above and Beyond, and you were seeing space for the first time, and yet we could recognize all of these things that they were threading the needle on, and that if you thought back to previous episodes, those little things that seemingly didn't matter do matter. And if you ever rewatch Space Above and Beyond, you would get way more out of things that were seemingly not of importance. But that's why I have the funny thing of Lorca eating seafood to replicate the taste of a species he can't eat right now because he's playing good captain. Like, that's not only hilarious, but they thought about it. They actually thought about a thing that most people haven't even drawn attention to after all of these years. I always raise it up as like, hey, this is a thing that they did, and it's just shocking to me how few people actually saw that thing that they did. But it's like one of the few, if only, things where they actually thought about the rewatch factor of the show.
We hung on to the hope that moment gave us.
As science specialist, I'm the most qualified to handle the needs of this creature.
I don't give a damn. I just want it done.
I request security oversight of the operation, Captain.
I still don't give a damn.
Are you ready for my best of the worst?
Yes.
Moments?
Hit me, baby.
We don't have time for the metaphysics.
Wow.
That was my pick for season 1. There were a number of contenders.
We don't have time for the metaphysical implications of this, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
because it made sense in the moment, but it became the philosophy
Of
the
the
show.
show.
And it really shouldn't, because it's...
Star Trek?
and not only that, what's it called?
Discovery?
Yeah.
What did that IMDb summary say?
Yeah. And they just say, we don't have time.
Nah. Fuck
We don't have time. We have to save the galaxy again.
Okay. Now, I couldn't pick Yum Yum for season 2. It's too obvious. We've been there. We've done that.
We've got to save that for the Yum Yum moment of the series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's the default, right? So I went with You Shall Call Me Mother.
Oh, Rachel. That was a favorite of yours. That was, you would quote that one a lot off the pod more than on the pod. You would just look at me and be like, call me mother. And it never came back up again, too. Like, they never said it. And Strange New Worlds never references it.
No.
It's never referenced. Is she a girl boss? Now, remember, as I asked this, the image of her holding her dead baby's head. Now, she's not a real girl boss because that was a fake dead baby's head. A real girl boss would have held her real dead baby's head. Although, to counter myself, she did show off some Klingon ditties. Your favorite thing I ever said on this podcast is probably me saying Klingon ditties. Oh, so season 3, one of your favorite seasons. I'm sure that you have a whole catalogue of choices that you had to whittle down to.
The apple. The apple that's made of shit.
That did give you a lot of mileage, as it did me. It tastes pretty good for shit, is a sound clip that's been used quite a lot on this podcast.
Tastes pretty good for shit.
It's pretty good for shit.
Oh.
I'm dying to know how you found any in season 4 and 5. Because I didn't think of my favorite moments in the ironic way. I was thinking I focused more on my sincere ones, but because I have some choices for my Yum Yum moment that isn't just Yum Yum. But I am dying to know how you found any and what you found in season 4 and 5.
See, I found it hard with 4 and 5 to distinguish between best of the worst and just plain worst. Like, there were a couple that I was like, oh, but that, no, I just really didn't like that, but in a very vitriolic way.
Can I choose my season 4 one?
Yeah.
Wiggy's wig. That was great. That was my favorite moment of the my favorite moment of the show was when they shoved a sweaty, matted wig on an actress's head for no reason. She could just be auburn-haired. Just because the actress didn't dye her hair blonde this season, you could just be, it's fine. Grey changed their hair between episodes without even a mention. It's fine. And Grey was a more prominent character than Nilsson. No one cares. Not one, but you know who do care? People who can see with their eyes that there's a hideous wig on this poor young woman's head.
I'm pretty sure this was from season 4. Tilly's line of, I love feeling feelings.
Oh, I love feeling feelings. I can't remember if that was from 3 or 4, but it's a great line nonetheless. But Rachel, the final season, not only is it important because it's the final time, but they met their creators and didn't seem really that fussed. So you must be pretty fussed to find something there.
Oh, it's... I was struggling with this one. Like, it's the most recent one, and I was just like, could I do that part or that line? But I decided that I had to go with one that you kept on calling back to, which is Book saying, "This is a time of peace."
after everything he's gone through, and he's begging to have the power to play God, and his justification is, it is a time of peace. So, we've had some fun. We've had some laughs, Rachel. We've had some fun. We've had some laughs. But now it's time to get serious, because we've got to talk about the worst moments of Star Trek Discovery, which for some people out there, they would assume I or you would say is every moment of Star Trek Discovery, but that's incorrect. That's incorrect. Most of the time, it's really boring. What makes the worst moment for you? Like, what are the qualifying things? Like, what are the standouts? Because for me, I have one simple thing. Because I had to strike off boring, because that would be too long of a list. I had one thing to be the aspect that qualified it for my worst moments, and that was evil. Choices that were, or moments that were pure evil on the writer's part or the production's part. So my worst moments of Discovery is not a shock to any listener of the podcast. It also is a great way of knowing that nostalgia is not possible, because season 1, I look back on and think, well, that was probably the best season. But both of these things happened in season 1. And Discovery, for all of its faults, never got worse than snapping Hugh Culber's neck.
Yes.
Doing the full bury a gaze trope and fucking milking it. Even having Paul in a weird catatonic state cradling Hugh's body without actually knowing that he's dead. Really going for it. Then having the sheer fucking hubris to bring him back as a weird ghostly presence that they string along for most of the second season. But it is the killing of Hugh Culber. That there was evil. And I cannot stress enough how truly confusing it is to me that the showrunners at the time, one of which was a gay man, said, oh, we didn't realize that Hugh would have such an impact as a character, that his existence, his presence, what he is as a form of representation would matter. We just thought we could kill him. And it wouldn't, but apparently it matters. Guys, are you stupid? Are you really that dumb? And the answer was yes. The second one, these two are tied for each other.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're both evil, is the handling of Ash Tyler's sexual assaults. Everything with that is manipulative. It's truly abhorrent, but also it's harmful. It's really harmful stuff, because people still to this day don't understand what the problem is there, because Ash Tyler wasn't actually sexually assaulted. He just had false memories. He actually was re-experiencing being Vok, and that was consensual sex. It was just Klingon sex, and it was rough. But the thing is, they used the language, they used the imagery, they used the concept in sincerity, like truly for drama, to lure you in to feel sorry for Ash Tyler, so that when they did the rug pull of his reveal being a bad guy would be all the more effective. Then they are so boneheaded that they do the false memory stuff, which if you don't understand why that's bad, then I'm sorry to tell you. But that's the thing that gets thrown to victims all of the time, of like, oh, you just didn't remember it right. Actually, it was consensual, all of this stuff. And that this show did all of that and didn't have a clue and played it straight. And there are people who, to this day, either defend all of that because, well, they were trying to say something profound. It doesn't matter if they were trying to say something profound. It's what they ended up doing and what it ended up saying. And it was all awful. So killing Hugh Culber and misleading the audience about Ash Tyler being a sexual assault survivor, all evil, pure, distilled villainy on this show's part. And, you know, in a way, thank goodness that they never got that bad after that. Like, Everything
No.
after that never reached those lows.
There are a lot of examples around death that we could use for least favorite moments. But, I've got to get one out of the way. The origin of the burn. The origin of the burn is so fucking stupid. It still makes me angry that because a child screamed really hard.
One time.
One time.
And it was just screaming.
Everything else got fucked.
The Federation got destroyed.
Yep.
By a child screaming one time.
Yep. Because, without fuel, the Federation is nothing.
So many worlds have been struggling since the burn. They need the ability to connect with us, with one another. We found a way to mine that dilithium on that planet. You and your crew can bring it to them. However far away they may be, you can bring them hope, Commander Burnham. They have waited long enough. And I think so have you.
Saru's stepping away from being captain. You praised the work that went into getting him there. And I'm gonna flip off his dissent.
They don't replace it with anything. He just becomes another faceless member of this ensemble.
Mm-hmm. They make him less of a character. I have a couple that are Georgiou related.
We had to mention her, didn't we?
Yeah. I did have just noted down her goodbye tour.
After like her Christmas Carol adventure.
Orange, really?
Now that's iconic.
Mm-hmm. And
I love that we know why that line exists
Yep.
because they didn't get they had this shade of red from the 60s set, but with modern lenses and lighting, it actually does appear red instead of that reddish orange that it does when you watch old Star Trek. And it's also a detail that's so hyper specific, most people, even me, have a hard time wrapping my head around what they're referencing.
But those boots.
She looked damn fine in those boots. They toasted to someone that they knew was a dictator and killed whole species of people and ate people.
Mm-hmm.
But she wore boots real good.
Yep.
So that's worth the atonement.
Mm-hmm. And then I was going to say that I was going to leave one off, but I have two left. And I feel like I need to acknowledge them both. I'm going to go with the one that I think is more straightforward, which is the political guest star that they got to be the president of Earth.
Oh, Stacey Abrams.
Yeah.
That's a great moment because everyone online lost their shit. Meanwhile, anyone not from America just sees a random person.
Yep.
And it means nothing. But the show itself treats it like we should be soiling ourselves that they got this US politician on the show. But it's like, who is she to people that aren't from the US?
Yeah. Fucking nobody. She's like
I'm sure she does important work, but she's not one of those figures that has
she's not. She hasn't
gone abroad.
Internationally, no. But, yeah. And then my final one.
Is this just because it's in the 5th season, or is
No,
it because it's actually the worst?
Because it gets under my skin because it's an idea that on the face of it, it seems like relatively positive. but it gives me the ick so hard.
Would you say it's chuggy?
I don't know. I'll let you decide that.
Okay.
Spock is so powerful, and his brain is one of the secrets to the universe because he's dyslexic.
You know what's... I mean, we're laughing, but like, why was that a thing? And why is that in your worst? Like, what was all of that?
Exactly! What was it? What was it for? Did you write on it?
It's called representation, Rachel. It's called representation. I bet all of the dyslexic viewers of Star Trek Discovery were feeling really seen that Mr. Spock is also dyslexic, but also that thing of, you gotta remember, guys.
And it was another reason that he was bullied at Vulcan Primary School.
You gotta remember, guys, that if you have a disadvantage in life, it actually is not just something that makes you special, but it could one day
it's
be...
actually your superpower.
The key, yeah, it's your superpower. That could one day be the key to solve a situation. It's so good. Such great representation. So, there's a lot of episodes of Star Trek Discovery. The seasons are short in comparison to others of the franchise, but they're also long episodes. They're still like 45 minutes to over an hour, depending. And the first season had like 15 episodes, which is only, a few less than what we used to have anyway. Like, that's still a decent chunk, but they did get less and less as they went along to roughly 10. So, with that in our minds, did we have favorite episodes of the show, and why were they our favorite episodes? Now, I looked through the list because I wanted to see if I could find ones that I knew that I didn't think of, because I already knew which ones were my top episodes. But I wanted to go back through and say, oh, how could I not think of blank? Tragically, there was no success there. Nothing has shifted from what my top episodes are, and I feel ashamed to admit this, but I could not give you 3. I could only give you 2 episodes.
Okay.
Because I want to be sincere. I want to be real. I want to be real with you. I don't want to go, oh, this one and this one just for the sake of getting it to a nice, tidy number that works in a conversation on a podcast. But I want to go through and tell you what episodes meant something to me. And I have to say this because it's the one that everyone says, but it's magic to make the sanest man go mad, the Harry Mudd time loop episode.
That was my pick for season 1.
It's reminiscent of Cause and Effect from TNG, but it does a lot of its own things. It's the first real time where we get a like that feeling of the crew being alive and having downtime, not just being the job or the plot.
The style feels like it works with the episode, not just there because.
They get to have fun as characters because they're in a loop where where nothing matters, so they can just do it again. It's a Groundhog Day thing, but it was done well. It was a stylish episode, and Harry Mudd, played by Rainn Wilson, was very delightful in it. He was too violent for my taste to be Harry Mudd, but as is, I thought it was a fantastic episode. It is one of the few times, if only times, they also have like here's a sci-fi gimmick episode. Like, here's a science fiction plot where this thing happens. And then by the end of it, we work through it and we get out of there. And I liked it. It was, we get the great moment of Lorca being really dismissive about having to do like a fact-finding mission and look at whales. He just doesn't care, and he has I don't give a damn. I still don't give a damn exchange, which is played magnificently by Jason Isaacs, who one of the best actors on the show, and you wish that you got to see more of him, even if it was the prime version of Lorca, just because he just was comfortable in this world, even though he was playing like a esoteric arsehole character. And the other one that I have to go to is in season 3, episode 2, Far From Home, I believe it's called. It's like one of the ones that's a Spider-Man title. Far From Home is the episode where Saru and Tilly must get off the Discovery that's crash landed in the future. They're being attacked by parasitic ice. They go to the Wild West Saloon. They meet a really fun character actor playing an evil cowboy. And it was just great, actually, to have an episode where we saw the crew of the Discovery have to figure things out. They had to problem solve. They had to manage things. And not all of their usual methods worked. It was an episode where Michael wasn't in it until the very end. And you got to actually, the show got to breathe. Those characters that are fighting for screen time actually got their time and actually did things. But I'm a sucker for it as well because it's a Saru episode. I like Saru as a character. It will be a shock to hear who's in my favorite characters. But it was a great outing for him and the rest of the Discovery crew. So Far From Home, but those are the only two.
We defeated Control and lost lives in the process. That sacrifice was not for this, Commander. I am the acting captain of the vessel that brought you here. Stand down!
I tried to force myself to go back and pick one from each season without just going back and seeing what I picked in the season recap for each one. I started out strong. I was like, magic to make the sanest man go mad. It was a really fun episode. Enjoyed it a lot. Felt like it almost justified having an additional legacy character appear. Like, it makes sense, and it matters that it's Harry Mudd doing that to them. And then my pick for season 2 was New Eden, because I do think that it's the best episode of that season. It's the one that I remember most fondly from season 2. There's a lot of good stuff with Pike. That's what I remember it for. But it does get dragged down by the context of the whole season. For season 3, I picked out Far From Home as well. It's a really solid episode. And I'm struggling to think of, I feel like you explained it so well that I'm like, yeah, that.
It did such a good job that it actually ruined the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Because
really
nothing else met it.
It's really, yeah.
We were wondering why wasn't that evil cowboy the main antagonist? Well, surely Osira, the one they're building up, will be really good as a character. Well, let's just say we were more fans of that evil cowboy.
And I couldn't decide on one for season 4 because with that one, I kept on being like, oh, what's the episode with that thing that I liked? And then I would be like...
Trying to remember any specifics about season 4 is like...
And then I would be like, oh, it's with that thing, so I can't pick that episode because it's got that part in it. I couldn't do it.
I don't fault you.
And then I picked Janelle for season 5. Because it gave Hugh something to do mattered that all of the characters were who they were and they'd experienced the things that they'd experienced. And that is not a very common thing in Discovery episodes.
That's a lot of great episodes, Rachel. And I'm sure we're going to have an even harder time finding the bad episodes.
No,
I don't
we're
think
gonna
it's
have
possible.
a harder time picking just a few.
I had to wean myself to 3. Because if I went beyond that, I would have picked double digits worth.
It would have just escalated.
I'm not joking. I'm
No.
not joking at all.
No, I don't believe you are.
And what makes a bad episode for us? Like, to get to this point where we're doing the series recap, we know we have lots of problems with Discovery, but like, what
I think it
is
has
it
to
that
have
makes them bad
the
enough to get to?
layers of shit. So it has to have some really bad moments, some really bad scenes, some really bad characters, some really bad plots, some really bad season arc connections, some really bad themes, some really bad visuals. I feel like it needs a good mix of those things
It does.
to really rise to the top of this sewerage of a show.
Well, in my number 3 spot, I have Such Sweet Sorrow Part 1. Not
Yeah.
Part 2. Part 1, because there doesn't need to be a Part 1. It could have been one episode. It could have been a movie-length finale, but it could have been one episode, because that episode is an hour of people saying goodbye. I loved serving with you. You were my favorite child. Mum, I will miss you. Wow. I loved being here, but it is time to go. Oh no, danger is coming, but I sure hope that we will remain friends. I will miss you. That's a whole episode. It's an hour of people just saying goodbye. And it is a waste of time. There's many episodes that are just spinning their wheels, that are just filler, that is just static noise. But I raise that one because it is placed in the most awkward time to be a nothing episode. This is the penultimate episode. It's supposed to get you excited to see how they're going to wrap all of these threads up, how they're going to wrap up everything. And they don't do anything in that episode. It's just people standing there saying goodbye. It's real rough. Then I had to pick. Season 4 was a bad season. And every episode feels like it's the worst episode. But I have to choose Stormy Weather, the one where they get stuck in like the void space and Zora and Michael are like the sole people left, and there's the singing of the song. Meanwhile, Book is getting haunted by his ghost dad. Yeah, you just made that wincing sound. And that episode is not even that special in how bad it is, but it is one I think about a lot, and just how embarrassed I was watching it. Just, oh, this is the show I'm watching. This is where we have gone to now. Okay. But in my top spot, because we always debate about which episodes are worse, ones that make you bored or ones that make you angry.
Mm-hmm.
And I've chosen
apathetic
two.
even.
I've chosen 2 that have made me bored.
Mm-hmm.
But I need to put in my top spot the episode that made me the angriest, I think. Maybe people out there, the Yumlings or you, may disagree of what made me the angriest, but to me, it's People of Earth. I hated that episode. That's the one where they go back to Earth after they've been launched into the future, and Earth is being attacked by raiders who are actually just other human beings dressed up as Scooby-Doo villains, and they actually solve the story off screen. We don't actually see, like, how they did all of these important things. They just did it off screen and we're told about it. And it's such a Saturday morning cartoon level, like, explanation of how we manage things. But it's also that, it makes me so angry the mixed messaging. Oh, Earth is a nightmare world where they are embracing militarism and isolationism, and they're presenting like they're a perfect like a perfect society. They've got this defensive shield. So you would expect, oh, when we go down to the planet, it's probably fucked up in some way. No! We go down to Earth, and it's the Garden of Eden. It's beautiful, it's lush, it's never looked better. What's the message there, guys? Because the message is actually the way that Earth is handling things is good. It's the best it's ever been. It's managed to rebuild itself after one of the greatest disastrous events of all of the universe because of their isolationism, because of their militarism, because look at it. Like, you wanted that shot. They wanted that shot of them at Starfleet Academy near that big tree and the zoom out, but it wasn't worth what you were saying. But also, to add the salt to the wound, that shot was ugly. It was a bad CGI composite shot. It was a bad shot. So you even fucked it up more, Discovery. I know that there are many other episodes I could point to that were much more exasperating, but like, I don't know, that one just always ruffles my feathers when I think about it. I'm like, oh, people of Earth, oh, because it treats you like you're a child. But this isn't a children's show. This show isn't for children. You can't expect like a 7-year-old to watch Discovery.
No.
So why is it treating me like that?
It really doesn't know who it's for. I'm going to go... I don't have a top pick. I'm going to go backwards chronological. So, Season 5, Labyrinth. It's shit. It's boring. It's plodding. It's spinning wheels. It's the part of the scavenger hunt that I liked the least. I don't like them setting up that Book and Burnham are getting back together. No, I don't like Kooky Librarian.
But Hugh got to squat.
He gets to do that in other episodes too.
But this was the whole episode for him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep, but that's my pick for season 5. Fuck. Season 4. I had a hard time choosing. I was tossing up between two, and one of them was People of Earth.
That's in season 3.
Why did I think that was in season 4? Well, I did have 2 down for season 4. What was the other one then? The Examples. The Examples was one that I had down for season 4. Because it felt like it had a sliver of promise that was shiny and new for Discovery. Like, the moral implications of trying to save these people and the consequences of doing so. But it's just done in such it's handled so poorly that it just is. Oh.
You got to remind people too a little bit about said episode, because the Examples I remember is the one where there's the prisoners on the thing.
Burnham and Book race to evacuate a group of stranded colonists. So, like, they're doing that, and Taka comes on board, and is dissing Stamets.
No.
But the other one that got under my skin for season 4 was All In, where Michael's chasing after Book and Taka, and they play poker. and Owu gets into a fight.
Boxing.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be the fun episode where there's a changeling and it's stealing cards. Why is that one there? Like, why are you looking down in absolute sorrow when talking about this? Like, why did this one?
It was almost fun. Like, I'm finding myself attracted to giving my worst episodes to the episodes where they got close to doing something and just fucked it up. Because there are a lot of episodes where it's just like, it's boring, it doesn't do anything, it's plodding, spinning wheels. But the ones that are standing out to me as I'm going back are like, oh, that could have been something and it didn't.
We have exactly no time to discuss the metaphysical implications.
People of Earth fucking sucked balls. The other one that I was thinking about, though, was I'm mixing up Scavengers and The Sanctuary in my head, and now I can't.
How could you forget? They're both episodes about Book. The Sanctuary is the one where they go visit his brother, and they're being attacked by sea locusts, and he can see from the ground his ship in space. And he can tell that Detmer is curing herself of her PTSD, which also, by the way, that's one of the worst things the show ever did.
Oh, fly real good.
That her PTSD was that she hit her head real hard. And then she flew real good, and then it was solved, and it was cured, and then everything's fine.
Yeah, and Scavengers is when she runs off to try and find Book, and Saru's just like, no, Captain Burnham's totally still here.
And George R's having seizures while on the mission. And he's a slave. Book's a slave. But then he says, within the span of like a year and a half, it's peace times and we should have the ability to play God.
Yep.
It's totally fine. Mm-hmm. I was actually a slave within a relatively short amount of time to me saying that it's peace times, but hey, it's peace times.
It's peace times. We deserve this technology. Okay. Season 2. I'm also going to give it to Such Sweet Sorrow Part 1. Because that was such a waste of fucking time. And then the other one that I want to give an honorable awful mention to is, I think it's the Red Angel, where we get this second double fake out about the Red Angel being actually Burnham, not Michael's mum.
No.
Is that when that happens?
No,
like
the
that.
Red Angel. I think we find out it's actually Michael. Like
in the Red Angel.
Oh, who cares?
No, like because
the
I
Red
feel
Angel's
like
the one where we find out at the end it's Michael's mum.
Yeah,
pretty sure. And then it's not actually later on. We find out later on.
That's what I mean.
Yes.
Yes.
It's the one where they strap Michael to a chair to try and kill her.
Yes. Yes.
I'm pretty sure that's
the one
Red
that I was
Angel.
thinking of. Season 1. I feel like I had a grudge against Lethe.
Lethe's a yellow episode, and then there's the blue episode.
Okay. So I think I'm going to assist the Parcellum Parabellum. Is
That's the blue episode.
I'm going to give it to the blue episode.
I'll give you something to really give Lethe a chance, which is the yellow episode where Sarek yeets Michael into the sky. Also, it also did give us the iconic line.
The soul bond? Is that soul bond?
No. It was when they created like an artificial mind meld. And Paul's really high, and he's like, totally groovy, man. And if I'm not mistaken, which I'm pretty sure I'm not, that was also the episode that gave us, it could have been the episode that gave us the we don't have time to discuss the metaphysical implications of this.
That would make sense.
I like that we could define them as yellow episode, blue episode. So.
Favorite characters, huh?
Do we have any?
Not fully. Several seasons we loved Saru.
Talking of our favorite characters is difficult because we have enjoyed these characters for periods of time. I liked Paul. I liked Tilly. I liked Saru. I liked these characters at some point in the show, but then they lost me. And do they still count as favorite characters if by the end you didn't care about them at all? Because I don't feel like that's how it should work. You know, like when I talk about favorite characters, say, sometimes, and if you've listened to our recaps on other series, sometimes my favorite characters are the ones where I didn't think I cared about, I didn't care about them to start with, but by the course of the adventures, I cared about them a lot by the end. You see, that's how that works. So can I honestly put Saru as my favorite character if by the end I didn't care about him very much because there was nothing to grab onto? I feel like I'm breaking the format here to say I had no favorite characters by the end of this series. There was no one that I will miss seeing again. If none of the characters within Discovery show back up, I'll be happy with that. I'll be fine. And that's such a sadness because even with Star Treks that I've not loved in the past, like Enterprise, if you told me that Phlox would come back in something, I'd be real happy. If you told me they came up with some way of making it that Trip didn't die, I'd be happy to see him again. You know, this is the thing that Lower Decks did. Lower Decks would bring back these characters from previous shows and yeah, it's fan service or whatever, but like they know that you want to have more fun with Rom, say, or even Lita. But Discovery, I don't like any of them. I feel bad because I'm usually the more positive one here, but when it came to this part of the breakdown, I just couldn't force myself to say, oh yeah, I like Saru, because I liked him for a stretch of the show, and then they killed his character, basically. But then he wasn't dead, he was just a ghost within the show. He was just haunting the show as this presence, and that's, you know, Tilly and Saru and Paul and like Hugh. There's all of these characters that it's like, oh, there was something there. There was something there.
It could have been something, and then it was nothing. I also don't have anybody really. Like, Saru is the closest to a favorite character, but it's just like not in the second half of the show, really. And everybody else I just really grew to despise.
Here's the one that you despised the least. That's not a reward. Can I at least ask this so we have something to chew on here? You and I think many people have said that Saru feels the most like a Star Trek character. You know, he's the most Star Trek character of the show. You know, same with Pike. Like, people liked Pike when he came in because he felt like a Star Trek character.
Mm-hmm.
But what does that mean for you? And how does that apply to Saru or Pike or whoever? Like, what is that? Because obviously that's a positive thing when we say that. Like, oh, they feel like a Star Trek character. But, like, what is that concept in actuality for you?
I think hopeful is a part of it for me. Like, that all of the Star Trek characters that I think of being very Star Trek are deeply hopeful and foundationally optimistic about the universe. And they are invested in investigating and understanding and engaging with the world in a deep and meaningful way and hoping to leave it better than they found it.
And you wouldn't say that applies to a lot of the characters in Discovery, because you can see that they believe that this is the defining thing of pretty much most of them.
A lot of them are optimistic. A lot of them are hopeful. But there is not a lot of deep and meaningful engagement with the world, with the universe.
I'm going to argue against you. I don't believe that any of these characters are optimistic and hopeful, truly. That is a thing that is said, said loud. I am hopeful. I am optimistic. I have faith. I believe. But do I, as a viewer, feel that from these characters? I do not, because they do such despicable things so often. But it's not even just that. It's just there's this dishonesty in the air when it comes to the characters and how they're handled in the show, because you know that the writing will just flip and change their character into whatever is needed. Book is an apathetic rogue, but he also cares about the animals, so he's got a heart of gold underneath. But also, he'll wipe out an entire species for the sake of revenge. But then the next season, he's a lovable lad. We like Book. You just can't grip onto him. But for me, a Star Trek thing that's fundamental, that I think applied to Saru and to Pike as well. And it's funny because we bring up this line, but, it's important. The metaphysical. These are characters that think about things in very analytical ways, but also very metaphysical ways. The Star Trek characters, often are like that, but I think people can get it twisted to think that means that they're cold characters, that they're nerds or scientifically minded. But you look at someone like Bones McCoy, and he's very emotional and he gets very hot-headed, but he's also a very thoughtful person. And he's scientifically driven as well, being a medical doctor, and he thinks about these things. But, he does take the time. You can say this about Saru, and you can say this about Pike in Discovery. They take the time to ponder. Discovery is in
Reflect.
the title. And they're about the discovery. They're about the metaphysical implication of these things. And that's why Saru feels like a Star Trek character, because he is actively participating in it. He isn't just saying that he is doing it. He does it.
Story embeds that.
Do you know Aeschylus?
An ancient Greek tragedian, born circa 525 BC.
He who learns must suffer. And even in our sleep.
Pain that cannot forget falls drop by drop upon the heart.
We could talk about our least favorite characters. I know I've just one, because I don't think anyone outdid this character.
Oh, I wonder
ever.
if we're going to be in agreement.
Yeah.
What makes a bad character in Discovery? Well, inconsistently written is almost a foregone conclusion for this show. I'm going to say that they have to have some really atrocious lines, either just mouthpieces or really bad techno babble. Their journey needs to go nowhere or go somewhere and then regress. Do you have any other criteria?
I have the same criteria for my worst moments, which is evil. on the writer's part. And that's why my only choice is Zhao. One of the worst characters in media that I've seen in the last 10 years. It's a terrible performance as well. Like, that's the thing that also kills it is Michelle Yeoh, she's an Oscar-winning actress now. Did you know that she won an Academy Award as soon as she stopped doing Discovery? So we know she is a good actress. But in Discovery, she gives one of the worst performances out of all of the people. And it's consistently bad. So it's a choice that they love. And people love Zhao. There are people we've had guests on and we've argued about Zhao. I'm not here to argue with people. I'm just here to express my opinion. And my opinion is Zhao is an evil character. Not because her character, is an evil person. She's an evil character because the writers are so in love with her and her villainy and despicable nature, but not in a way where there's an understanding of that. Because I don't get it twisted. I love villains. They can be some of the best characters. We praise Taka, for instance. Khan is a fun character in Star Trek, right? But the given material understands their worldview and their behavior, and what they do is deplorable and we should not condone it. But Zhao, they want to say she's gone on this redemption arc, but we never got to, on this podcast, don't buy into that story the way that they told it. It doesn't feel true. When we've covered other shows on this podcast where we've had characters that have done horrific things and they've had to atone and go through redemptions. Londo Mollari is one of the great sci-fi characters, and he is a horrid person. He's rotten to the core, but the show understands that. He fucks around, he finds out. But boy, is there a lot to think about on the journey to those points. Zhao, there's none of that. The show likes Michelle Yeoh. They think she's a badass, so Zhao is a badass. We toast to Zhao and say she's so cool, but the characters have really no reason to believe that. What they know of her should be something that they are either fearful of or despise. But they don't, because the show likes Zhao, so we don't do that. It's evil to me as a character because they are condoning her when they are trying, and you can tell that they're, in their very clumsy way, trying to not do that. But in so doing it, they are doing it because they're very bad at telling that story. It's a complicated story. That's a really complicated thing to do with a character, of like having someone at such a high level of villainy, someone who's committed atrocities, and asking the audience to see the good in them, and asking the audience to follow them on a journey of understanding what they've done is wrong and trying to become a better person. But the thing is, they don't do that part. They're just like, she just says funny things, and her jokes are bad. That also doesn't help. But also, it just hurts all the more because we got the Section 31 movie, her movie, and surprise, surprise, it's a stinker. It's one of the worst things that Star Trek has ever done. But how are we at all shocked? No one is, because it was clearly going to be bad because it's a movie following Zhao. So there it is. Zhao is the worst character of Star Trek Discovery for me. But what about for you, Rachel? Who are these characters that just didn't land?
Oh, yes. I only wrote one down because I knew that you were going to cover Zhao. I knew that you had that covered. We've been very thorough in our coverage of how much we dislike the choices around that character and the glorification of her. I went for Tilly because I grew to despise her and every little bit of slop that dribbled out of her mouth.
But she's a teacher.
Cake is eternal.
I love feeling feelings.
And they keep on bringing her back.
She left. Remember? She left to become a Starfleet Academy person. Then she came back. But please talk more about, like, why is Tilly in this spot? Because when you think back, she was someone we liked.
She meets the criteria that I said. And it is that her story goes nowhere. She, like... And it could have been interesting, right? The idea of she's on this path to captaincy and she feels like she's committed, and then she realizes that isn't actually what she wants anymore.
Or it's harder than expected.
She pivots and she challenges herself. But it doesn't actually mean anything. It doesn't change how she is or how she responds to things, how she engages with the world. They just continually make her more stupid when it comes to engaging with people, and smarter when it comes to the technobabble.
She got real Flanderized. They just were like, oh, Tilly's a blabbermouth, just nervous Nelly. She is a quipster, and they just got trapped in that because we were Tilly fans at one point because you could see the humanity underneath all of those quirks. She was relatable at one time in an off-kilter way, in a, fresh-faced, out of the academy type way. But then, like with so many things, as we get further into the show, they lost the thread or became disinterested in that. And so Tilly is just a member of the crew who gets screen time, but they don't have more to them after a certain while. They just lost out on being captain at the same time Saru did, and then they both just become people who... get lines of dialogue on the occasion if we're good, and like you said, it's slop coming out of the mouth. Honest question: do you think her dialogue got worse, or do you think we just wore thin on it?
I think it's a little bit of both. And I do think that it's because the percentage of slop dialogue increased over time. Like it was very high to start with, and then it dipped a little bit, and then it got even bigger.
Was there the worst? I know we already kind of talked about worst, but was there a particular bad Tilly line that just lingers with you as like, this is...
feelings.
Mine is, this is the power of math, people!
I was going to say, and that one.
Or when she said the first fuck in Star Trek, and then we had to like...
Oh, Spock's reaction!
No, it was Paul. This was before Spock. This was season 1. Paul's just like, no, it is fucking cool, because they are aware somehow that they are swearing in Star Trek, and that's a taboo that we haven't really done, and we haven't cracked it open, but now we have, and now I get to hear like Jean-Luc Picard say cunt or something, so woo, I'm feeling like an adult. Discovery made it to 5 seasons, which is impressive, but how are we going to rank these seasons? What is our ranking of seasons from worst to best? Let's go from the bottom to the top. Now, I don't know if
we know that Julio would have season 5 at number 1.
Yeah, but Julio's not here, is he? And is he listening right now? And if he is, Julio, I'm sorry to tell you, it's not number 1.
Thanks, number 1. He's my number 1 dad.
Number 5, and you can argue with me, it's season 4. That is a season so bad that it was awful, because I actually broke and said, oh, we don't have to cover more Discovery because this was so bad. Unless the show finishes, we'll come back for the end. Think about that, Rachel. think about that. For these last 5 years, I have been all, we got to do Discovery. And then season 4 came along and it knocked the wind out of our sails so bad that we were ready to just go back home and park the ship and not continue on the journey.
Yeah, it's also my number 5. It's a piece of shit. It shits all over everything, and then it shits all over the canon of Star Trek as well. And it just...
Brilliant. I'm curious to know what the fourth spot is in your ranking of things, and will we line up?
I'm going to give it to season 3, I think. Because it's just so fucking dumb. It is so dumb. It's such a waste of time. It's stupid. It's so stupid. It undoes character growth. It introduces some really lame characters.
Hey, Adira is an art genius. We need to appreciate that. Gray is here as a ghost, and they actually need some time off because being a ghost is really hard. And Grudge is a queen. How could we put season 3 so low? I put season 3 that low because, well, did you see the reveal of the burn?
Oh, fuck off!
That may be
just fuck off!
That may be the dumbest thing that they did. Like on a big picture level, dumb. There was the Federation, all of that. We talked about it, but like it is like you laugh about it. It's just so silly. He screamed really loud one time, and that put season 3 in the 4th spot. And there are people who say season 3 was the best season. How can you say that? How can you say that in the same season where Book is on the ground being attacked by floating sea locusts and he sees in space his spaceship flying around, but he's on the ground on a planet, by the way. But he can see in space his spaceship. Like, this is a show made for idiots. And season 3 really leaned into that. So I was like, season 3 is really the downfall of Discovery, because like after that point, they just no longer have statements to make. They're just like, whatever. There's a mystery. There's a galaxy-wide event.
Woohoo! And then they have to keep on moving beyond the galaxy.
Mm-hmm. They have to go bigger, 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 bigger. But they don't even think about like what that means.
Okay, what's your 3?
Well, I mean, it has to be season 5.
We're on track.
We're on track.
I
wonder what will be. Season 5 is just nothing. Mm. Like, it's weird because being in the middle sounds like it's like, oh, well, it was a consistent season. It was good.
No.
Middle can also mean like it's the blandest, because I will not remember anything about season 5 other than it's like the ending of the show. But like, I won't remember much from
I
it.
won't remember what the mystery is, really. I'll be like progenitors, but like, what about the progenitors?
Exactly. What about them? Second spot. Curious. What have we got? Because they didn't reveal what our top spots are. What do you think is the second best season of the show?
No, you've been going first.
Yeah, but I want to know from you.
No, I want to hear from you.
No, I want to hear from you.
That's
so
the way
I know what your first one is. I'm revealing a lot about myself, but I want you to reveal stuff about yourself. What do you think, Rachel, is the second best season of Discovery?
Why can't I pick none of them?
I'm sorry, that's not an option. Short Trek, season 1, Ryan. I see what you did there. Because that tied into the actual events of Discovery. You can't pick season 2, though, because that ties into Picard and not Picard. No, Picard everyone's favorite Strange New Worlds. Remember when they set up that engineer character that never appears in Strange New Worlds for a whole short trek? Like there was a little backdoor pilot for that character that then never appears in Strange New Worlds. It was a great 10 minutes of your life that you never get back. Just want you to think about that for an eternity.
It's hard because our two choices are season 2 and season 1. Season 1 has the Ash Tyler stuff. It also has the Lorca stuff. It has the Klingon war.
Yep. It has the Mirror Universe stuff.
Yep. So it has Georgiou. There's a lot of pros and cons to season 1. As well as it being, the origin point of all that Discovery had to offer. Season 2, pro, Pike.
Yep.
Con, Spock.
But Spock had a beard, which looks better than when he doesn't have a beard. So
but his entire character is because
he has a character in season 2?
half-sister called him a freak half-breed one time.
It's his stepsister, right? No,
adoptive
sister.
Yeah, foster sister, basically.
Yeah. And that inspired him to be the hero we know.
It led to Strange New Worlds, which I do like. It also links to Picard, which I fucking hate.
I mean, every season links to Picard in some way because it's all bad. So, it also gave us Yum Yum season 2, so that's a pro.
That is a pro.
But then it also gave us everything else. It's tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because here's what I'll say. I think season 2 is the best of Discovery in terms of what is Star Trek Discovery? It's season 2.
Yeah, I'll go with my original list, which was having 2 is 1 and 1 is 2.
I would say that I personally like season 1 more, but also it's evil and horrid and gross. It's just written by people who are so caught up.
Despicable?
Yeah, despicable. It's caught up in the machinery of television. It wants to thrill you. It wants to chill you. It wants to outsmart you. It wants to just be this hotshot, badass show, but it's just mishandled. But at the same time, there's some good character stuff there. There's some good episodes sprinkled in on the occasion. It's probably the most ugly the show looked, but also the most good looking the show looked. It's like this weird juggling act of things. But then you have the Klingon War. And it's like, it's a war show, but the war is not in the show. So how's it a war show?
Yeah.
In one season, you could have a war show feel like a war show. We did that with Space Above and Beyond. That was one season, and it was a war show, and you felt the war, even though the war wasn't in every single episode. It was ever present.
Yes.
Why is season 2 the top dog, though? What about it is Discovery?
Rotating captain's chair. A lot of work with legacy characters. Some
rewriting of canon stuff they have to do.
I was gonna say some interesting additions. We liked the Admiral.
Yeah, she was in season 1, but then she got more to do in season 2.
Yeah, but you liked more what she had to do in season 2 rather than her investigating Lorca.
Yeah, she had more of a point in season 1, but she was better as a character in season 2.
Yes.
But then we also got all the Hugh stuff. So it's like, well, to me, what makes season 2 stand as the Discovery, the pinnacle of Discovery is it's all flash. It's a sizzle reel. It's all razzmatazz, but there's nothing underneath it. It's flashy with nothing to back it up. Like
no
it's,
substance whatsoever.
If you think about it for more than 1 second, it falls apart. And that's Discovery in a nutshell, really. And it did give us a Yum Yum moment, which, you know, we always have to say is important.
Yum Yum.
We named ourselves YumYumPodcast because of the Yum Yum moment being when Commander Nandi said Yum Yum in reply to Empress Georgia asking if they should make the antagonist scream and if they would like that and do you want to kill him. What is the Yum Yum moment of Star Trek Discovery?
Other than Yum Yum.
Well, it has to be Yum Yum. I know mine.
Mm.
I didn't think it was this until we did the podcast, and it's just been something that just has become a staple of the podcast, even beyond our Discovery coverage, and it's become a staple of our lives. But context is for kings. It's a writer's line. It's just one of those things in which it's like, oh, wouldn't it be good
naming
if we put
the
this
episode
here?
after it too?
And Jason Isaacs, as good as an actor as he is, you can really tell, like, when he read that script, he was like, oh, yeah, this is one of those cool lines. Oh, yeah, I'm going to really sink my teeth into this. Oh, you can just feel the mustard he's putting on that line. And I just love it. I don't even know if it's a guilty pleasure at this point. It's just a love that I have. It's just, and I've said it so many times over the years that it's become like a catchphrase of the podcast. Like when we say context, there is a moment of pause of like, will I say is for kings? I love it. I think it's just amazing. Yum Yum as a line itself is very simple and to the point, and it's not trying to be profound. But context is for kings is trying to be profound, and yet it's as silly to me as the Yum Yum moment.
Yeah. Yes. I'm struggling to pick just one. I feel like I've mentioned a lot of my big contenders, like Cake is Eternal, The Power of Math People, maybe some lines that aren't from Tilly as well.
It's hard not to.
Oh. I'm trying to think of when I think of Yum Yum, what is the other moment that comes to mind other than Commander Nandi licking those lips and flicking that hair. A weird one came to mind. And I don't know if I'm going to stick with it or not, but this one rose to the top.
It is the last time we'll talk about Discovery, so you will be sticking with it. So just factor that in. Just think about that. Just think about it. So what rose, Rachel? What unflushable came out after you pressed the button?
I can't find the exact wording of it right now, but it's another one that we continually referred back to, and one that I feel is somewhat emblematic of Discovery as a whole, which is Admiral Vance talking about his daughter.
Oh, the alphabet.
Yeah.
She made her own alphabet.
Yep. Because it's just like they think that they're really saying something and showing something, and the music is so swelling and important, and it's just so fucking dumb.
Are you sad that it's over?
No.
Well, it's never over because we can rewatch it, Rachel. Right? You wanna go back and rewatch it?
I will fucking get revenge in a definitely non-violent way if you decide to do that.
How about this? I'll sweeten the pot for you.
What?
Have you thought about how cool it would be if we did a rewatch and then podcasted about it again?
We're the only two people that have survived rewatching this show and podcasting about it. Why would we do it a third time through?
Because it would be really funny.
What would be fucking beneficial
because
to our lives?
Oh, it would be beneficial to our
About-
lives. It would just be a cool experiment.
Acknowledging.
I mean,
no, our time on Earth is
Rachel,
precious.
Rachel, I got a reason. Have you ever wanted to get time off work? Because I feel like mental breakdown would really get you some nice time off work. And I have a quick route to that, which is if we rewatch Discovery and podcasted about it. I'm joking, of course. This is one of the only Star Treks that I am never inclined to see ever again. There are episodes of
I don't
Strange
think I
New
would
Worlds.
rewatch Lower Decks.
Ooh, hot take. Picard?
It's not made for rewatching.
Ooh, Lower Decks.
Yeah.
Ooh, Rachel's stoking the flames there. Look, here's how it goes. Picard and Discovery are brothers in arms of the two Star Trek shows that I'll never watch again. And I don't want to think about them again. But Discovery, unlike Picard, has a lot of unique qualities that are memorable and will stick with me. So there's that. But it is something just to, ask is, would we ever rewatch this? The answer is
Fuck no.
Of course it is. That is our experiences and journey and coverage of Star Trek Discovery. Rachel, we did it! We did the thing!
Oh, it took us 5 years.
Like the original mission of the Enterprise was supposed to go on 5 years. Remember that? It was a 5-year mission. See, our podcast was an elaborate reference to the original series, much like Star Trek Discovery, which was set 10 years before Kirk's Enterprise. Spock appeared in the show. Did you know Spock was in this? But Rachel, as we bid farewell to Discovery, how about you tell all of the Yumlings more about the podcast, where it can be found, and what we are up to on our Patreon?
Well, it can be found first at Patreon, where we release different episodes early. Then, if you want just the main feed episodes, you can find us on your podcatcher of choice. But if you're listening to this, you probably managed that part already. If you want to engage with us further, you can check out our socials. We're on pretty much all of the main ones. And a YumYumPod or YumYumPodcast, which will be linked in the description. If you want to email us, you can send that to yumyumpod@gmail.com.
Feel free to share the show around. Make sure to give us a rating and review. And heck, why don't you start the pod all over again? Go back to our first episode when we covered
We aren't
going to
do a rewatch, but you can do a
re-listen. Wouldn't that be exciting? I wonder what it would be like to re-listen to our first episode and see, and hear the hope in your voice. You're like, oh, hi, Ryan. I love podcasting, and we're talking about Discovery, but I'm sure we'll find our way with the show over time. That wasn't true. That wasn't true. That was never in Rachel's heart. It was in my heart. But thank you, Rachel. For doing
Ryan.
this.
It tested our marriage at points.
Yep, it did. Everyone, Rachel was going to get the divorce papers already lined up if they were going to make more seasons of the show, and I dared us to do more. But those lovely, lovely producers over at CBS and Paramount, they said no. But let's end on this, Rachel. What do you think will be the fate of Commander Nandi in the universe of Star Trek?
Like, do I think that she's ever going to come back in one of them, or what's my headcanon for where Commander 9D is during the epilogue of life itself?
Oh, interesting. I didn't think about that. I just meant more like, what do you think of the future of this character, whether they could come back, or your headcanon journey of where they would end up as a character. I believe they will. Look, they would appear in the Starfleet Academy show. That would make sense for them to appear there. And heck, they could be an instructor at the Starfleet Academy.
That would be a very straightforward integration of the character.
But my ideal end for Commander Nandi, of course.
She learns how to make really good sausage.
Oh, Rachel, don't be a silly Billy. She would become the president of the Federation.
Mm-hmm.
And as the president of the Federation, she would put a decree that we make him scream. And then we all lick our lips and say, yum yum. But what do you think about Nan's fate? Do you actually think she would ever come back again as a character?
Yeah. I do. She's a good blank slate, but like people know her. So she can kind of come in and do different stuff, which is what Discovery was using her for at the end. Thus, she's there with Saru in the finale. What do I realistically think that will happen to Commander Nandi? Well, I'll answer my own question as like where I think she would be when Burnham is an admiral and about to send Discovery off to wait for Calypso to happen. Which is that I think she joins the secret library because the seed vault didn't work out.
Oh, I thought it was because her design as an alien looked very similar to the librarian's design.
That did come to mind too. But no, because I feel like she'll reach a point where she's satisfied with what she's achieved within Starfleet and the Federation and want to pivot into something else. And then she recognizes that they really lacked a security mindset beyond the traveling through space aspect, and that she could be a really big help to them securing this lifelong legacy.
Okay, so she works at the library as a security person.
She's a security guard at the library.
I was going to say, she couldn't be a librarian. She can't read. Final piece of canon lore. Commander Nandi cannot read. Put that on the memory alpha.